Hey, what's up guys? Radku here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video. And today is going to be an update to Phantom Knights. Now, with Rusty Bardiche now off the list, Phantom Knights have become really good. So Bardiche was on the ban list for a while, and it came to one pretty recently. It's actually like a really good card, and it's actually like super powerful just in this deck alone. So without further ado, let's jump right into the list. Starting things off, I play 3 copies of Torn Scales. Torn Scales is basically your main combo piece. Discard 1 to send 1. It can get you a search. It can get you a lot of things, including free extenders. So really, Torn Scales is one of your best cards. I played 3 copies of Silent Boots. This card is an extender on top of the fact that it searches your spells and traps. I played 2 copies of Stained Greaves. This card is an extender, surprisingly, and it special summons from the hand, meaning that some of your supposedly dead cards won't be as dead anymore. I played 2 copies of Ancient Cloak. This card is really good. It's basically a searcher for the deck. It's not really good to hard draw into, but with cards like Greaves, it's definitely a lot better. Then I played 1 copy of Ragged Gloves. Now that is it for the Phantom Knights lineup. The Phantom Knights themselves aren't super busted, but with a bunch of level 3 extenders, that's when the deck becomes insane. I play 1 copy of Speedroid Take Tomborg and 1 copy of Speedroid Terratop. I've been debating cutting these, but I actually think it's pretty good. So like this engine, all in all, will only be super busted if we can get Terratop back to more than 1, but like we're not focusing on that. I played 2 copies of Psychic Wielder and 1 copy of Psychic Tracker. These 2 cards are like really good extenders, just if you control level 3s, which the deck is literally level 3 spam. I played 3 copies of Tour Guide, 1 copy of Sangin, and 1 copy of DD Night Howl as targets for this. So mainly the reason I did this was, 1, because Night Howl is a tuner, and it can actually be an extender. So what you can do is you can either use Tour Guide to summon Sangin, then use those as link material to go into Cherubini, or you can summon Night Howl off of Tour Guide, and then use them both for link into Hulk, and then you can actually gain some pretty crazy advantage off of it, including summoning Ash Blossom, which can actually work as a piece of your combo in this deck. I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This card is really good in the deck. It's just generic, plus it can actually work as part of your combo. 2 copies of Skullmeister because it's generic. I play 1 copy of Feather Duster because this deck does hurt with with a lot of matchups. I play 1 copy of Rhoda. This card is insanely powerful, searches your starter card. Literally, this deck has 6 starter cards and a bunch of extenders. So like really, if you can get Torn Scales or Tour Guide, you can go into full combo. Play 1 copy of Monster Reborn because this deck is pretty graveyard reliant. 1 copy of E-Telly because it can special summon from the deck. I play 3 Fogblade, 2 Imperm, and then I play 1 Shade Brigandine and 1 Knight's Wing. These are both pretty good cards. The trap lineup is pretty standard, and then I play the Dragoon Engine because it's actually pretty free to go into in this deck. I'm surprised it didn't get hit on the ban list, considering that they hit Zexal and they hit VFD. But I guess Dragoon, it just isn't really on the radar because it's not like as visually oppressive, but it's still really good. So for the extra deck, I play 1 Dragoon, 1 Verte for the engine. I play 2 copies of Rusty Bardiche. You don't really want to play it at more than 2 copies, but this card is actually like really good. It's a great way of going into plays, on top of the fact that it sends Phantom Knights for basically free, and then it searches spells and traps, which is really good, which can provide even extenders or possibly more. I play 1 copy of Access Code for OTKs, 1 Unicorn, 1 Phoenix, 1 Hulk. I already told you the play with Hulk. one IP Masquerena, because it's a good way of getting rid of your Shade Brigandine so that you could use them as dark materials to go into your Rusty Bardiche. I played 2 copies of Cherubini because this card is just insanely free in the deck. I played 1 copy of Time Thief Redoer, 1 copy of Levier the Sea Dragon. This card is amazing for the deck. And then I played 3 copies of Breaksword. So that is going to be it for the deck profile. Let's go into some combos. Okay, so here we are at a test hand. Now this hand is absolutely god tier. Like, this hand is amazing. I actually didn't even use the E-Tally because this hand is just so good. So first we summoned the Terror Top, searched the Tomborg, summoned it. Then we got a play into Cherubini. Now we got into Cherubini without using our normal summon, which is amazing for this deck because it actually sets up a lot of avenues for plays. So from here I sent the Cloak, search Boots. Then I normal summoned that. Now what we could have done, either or, is we could have searched the Torn Scales off of this instead of searching the Boots. But personally, I preferred to search the Boots because it's an extender and we already had a play starter here. So then we used them, those 2 to go into a Bardiche because they're both darks. We used Bardiche effect to ditch the Scales, and now this was one of the main reasons why I didn't, was because we could ditch it and now Scales can become another extender. I used the effect because we have a Rusty on the field, overlaid into the Breaksword. Now, I didn't need to do this, but I just chose to. I used those to go into both of those. Then I linked them off into a Verte. I could have just linked the initial 2 off. I banished that to set the Fog Blade. Now we have an extender and a Fog Blade on the field, meaning that we already set up a disruption. So then, since I banished, I could summon that. I used them both to go into IP. Then I activated Verte, sending the materials, and then we get our Dragoon. So now we have a 1, 2, 3 disruption board, while still being able to easily go into plays, furthering our board. Even if our opponent manages to out it, we still have the E-Telly and the Night Howl in hand, meaning that we could get 2 on the field for Cherubini, and then actually still go really, really well. Because we could even go into a Breaksword, summon 2 from the grave. Like, there's a lot of avenues you could go here. So I set that. The next play is going to be quite a bit worse hand, but you'll see how amazing this deck can be just by looking at this hand. So this hand would be crap, but the thing is that, like, we drew into a lot of our Phantom Knights, but this hand surprisingly is full combo. So like, for a weaker hand, this was full combo because I wasn't able to set up the IP, but I was able to go into Dragoon and the Bardiche. So I used those, summon those 3, which we had 2 extenders in our hand, so we could easily pop off. Went into Cherubini, effect to send the Scales, banished, then summoned the Scales back. Used those 2 to go into a Bardiche, because this deck is basically Bardiche Turbo. Set the Fog Blade. I used the effect of Stained Greaves to summon it back, which is actually really good, because then that means we got another extender on the field. I used those to go into Levier, the Sea Chicken. I don't know why I keep calling it that. We summoned it back. See, I actually forgot I didn't use the effect of Torn Scales yet, so I could have sent, like, a Stained Greaves, but Stained Greaves is once per turn, so it's not like we could have extended any further. Went into Verte, Verte's effect, summon Dragoon. Like, okay, so this isn't exactly the best board, but we do have easy follow-ups. So we could banish the gloves to send literally anything. We could send the Stained Greaves Then we could have summoned back Scales, used effect of Shade Brigandine, and we could banish Cloak to search another extender, such as Boots. So really, like, this deck just has so much utility, and is actually very powerful, especially with the Dragoon engine, and it can easily go into it, like, on a whim. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck. Let's go into the final, so the thing is that with Bardiche now completely off the list, the deck is actually a lot better. Now, even though Bardiche is a once per turn, 2 Bardiches, even though there is technically 3, we have 2 Bardiches now that we can use for plays, so we can double up everything. And even though we won't have the Dragoon on the field, we'll at least get another negation on the field. And the fact that this deck can consistently do that, and even with a bad hand, as I showed you, can do such crazy things. I definitely think this deck is an option going into the later formats. With cards like Arch and Chaos Force off the list, like we might see more rank up Magic based decks. Now, not necessarily this deck per se, but the fact is that like with this latest ban list, we have potential for a lot more crazy decks. And I definitely think that this one will be a crazy deck going into the format. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know what you thought, and let me know if there's anything you would change about the deck. Would you change up the Phantom Knights lineup? I did have a very limited Phantom Knights lineup because there are only a few of them that are really good. Would you change up the rank 3 spam lineup? And yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you in the next Yu-Gi-Oh video. Peace, guys.